Myself, I'm Girish Nagarkar. I'm the MD of Infotel Pvt Ltd. And today we are extremely lucky to have two dignitaries, luminaries with us. Sanjeev Patki ji, who led us to the path of good to great. And I still remember I was also like a student sitting here and I got so engrossed. I didn't know when the workshop started and when it ended. This path he showed us 3 years back. And sir, even today we follow your path, especially most of the HODs are following the bus principle. So that has gone to our heart. And it's not only that, we refer your book also on almost on daily basis. So that's how good he is. He showed us the path of good to great. Coming to Gary, some of you must have done some background check on Gary in LinkedIn or in Google or etc. etc. But let me just briefly tell you, he is the CIO of Discount Tire. Discount Tire is a tire company in US having 1,200 stores. There are 800 people working under him. He has to manage a IT budget of 100 million, and the overall turnover of the organization is 12 billion. It's all big figures for us, but surely much more than 1,000 crores and things like that. At heart, he is a very nice person. He never says no to help anybody. And yesterday also, he was giving me some instances where how consultancies approach, and the only issue is about time, but otherwise, how he is always helpful. He has been helpful to us to come here. And one more thing about Gary is that after he joined, he's completed 5 years in Discount Tires, right? 6+ years in Discount Tire, and in between, once he started old established company to a new vibrant technology company. So when Wall Street Journal interviewed him for this, he has famously said that we are a technology company first and a tire company later. So that's how Gary is, and I'm very honored, and I mean it. I'm very honored to have you, Gary, here, and of course, I'm very eager to listen to you about AI. So, coming back to our AI program, AI for AIPL, that's my topic. We had a very popular program called Feelings. We had introduced 3 years back, and we ran also very successfully Feelings program. A lot of us, you benefited also in terms of certifications, etc. Because of AI advent, we are replacing Feelings with a new program called FACTS, FACTS, facts or fact or reality or hakikat or hakikate, whichever way you like it. But FACT and S, facts, is the program we are going to run for the next 3 years. So I'll just briefly explain to you what fact is, and I will truly request you to contribute to it. There is no right or wrong in AI because there was no AI, let's say maybe 10 years back. So, or there was no generative AI 10 years back. So, uh, whatever we say is doable, is can be learned more, etc. with AI. So, please, your contribution is equally important. So how does AIPL look at? So we look at AI this angle that AI is a double-edged sword. It can destroy us or it can delight us. Now, obviously, we don't want to get destroyed, right? We will rather look in the direction where there is a delight than where we are going to get destroyed. So if I look at it from the angle of being delighted, then one thing I realize, and I'm very honest, maybe a little brutal also, but very honest, is that AI, in the realm of AI, old people like me have very less place over overall in the things that is happening, because AI is all about new idea generation, doing things the new way. So obviously, a young blood is always and definitely will be required. So from that, I will move, and that's why everybody's ideas are welcome. Uh, So when we are talking about FACTS program, the F stands for financial strength. AIPL is a strong company. AIPL so far has a good financial track record, but then it doesn't have deep pockets which are required for, because overnight something might come and hit us so bad that we won't have, say for example, to make mandatory payments for the next 6 months or one year. So we need to be financially strong. If you remember, when ChatGPT was launched, Google was thoroughly shaken because it directly attacked the search part of it, and they did GPT did better search than the traditional search model of Google. So Google tried to say that, oh, AI, we are following AI for years together, it's in our lab, but they were forced to introduce a version of AI. You know what was the name of the Gen AI which Google had introduced? Immediate, sorry? No, it was called BARD, BARD. Okay. It was called BARD. One lady was standing there and she wanted to give a demo of BARD. I don't know how many people have seen it. It's etched forever. I had seen that program. Google, all as usual, they went live. They had a lot of things to show, etc., etc. And when she asked certain questions to Bard, Bard completely goofed up. And it's Bard goofed, Google goofed, and that night I remember Google stock took the worst beating. It lost $100 billion. Okay, Google. I, why Google could survive? Because Google was a cash-rich company, so they could make sure whatever the mistakes were there, they were captured within certain period of time. I truly feel Sundar Pichai must have said, घायल हूं इसलिए घातक हूं. Uh, he turned around, he renamed Bard to Gemini, and the rest is history. Everybody knows where Gemini stands now. But they could do only because they had deep pockets. उनके पास इतने पैसे थे कि वो फाइट दे सके, वो सर्वाइव कर सके इन द इंटीरिम पीरियड. So same thing is with AIPL. We need financial strength. We need financial muscle. We need a equity partner who is much larger than us. And that's the journey we are going to take in future. What does it change on the ground level? On the ground level, it doesn't change anything. Only thing is you will have to embrace AI like any other organization. Otherwise, no one can guarantee anybody's career or future. And like I said, it's a double-edged sword. आप एआई को एम्ब्रेस करोगे, एआई के साथ दोस्ती करोगे, एआई को कॉन्कर करोगे, तो नेचुरली you will get career path or career avenues which are far more than what you have taught. So the first one is financial strength. Second one is agility. Okay. Now agility means flexibility, accommodativeness, etc. And I feel we have good flexibility as an organization, as individuals also. In agility and AIPL, I feel AIPL का दूसरा नाम agility है. Now, why I feel that? Because we look at agility from two angles. One from an organizational angle and one from an individual angle. From organizational angle, I'll give you one small example. We have a very popular line of business called managed services. Managed services in turn has two main components. The customer doesn't have to spend in capex, they have to spend in opex. And we have to halve the price in such a manner that we are able to recover the price plus make profit over a longer period of years. Normally, that contract period is 3 years, 5 years. But now, based on certain feedback, we see the customer still wants capex to opex, still doesn't want to spend in capex. But opex, he is not ready to sign a contract for more than a year. So, when we realized this issue, we decided we have to be agile enough to accommodate the customer because it is a market pull. The market is telling us. It also told us very clearly that only platform services like NAS, okay, where somebody is really investing completely, including manpower, software, cloud, everything they are investing for you. Only those cases a long-term contract is possible. Otherwise, long-term contract is going to be history, and they are right. Customer is right because nobody knows in 3 months what technology will come. So they are going to have shorter duration of contracts. but they would still want the main features of a managed service. So we have now become agile enough to get managed services into our foray without insisting on a longer period. So that's how agile the organization is. That's how flexible the organization is. On an individual level, I really don't have to describe. Most of you know, but I think for the guest I will repeat it. We have a person like Darshana, who the need came, somebody who was supposed to go for a exhibition event sponsored by some microfinance company, and we had bought a stall over there. He couldn't go. So one request was made to her from her HOD, and overnight she packed her bags, went to Panchgani, stayed there overnight, and made friends with 50 odd people, 50 odd IT people. So that kind of agility at individual level we have. Where we are flexible. Whenever a situation will come when we will require flexibility, we have that quality. We will be flexible. So in facts, I've covered the two alphabets: the F part for financial strength, the A part for agility. The third part is equally important, which is the C. The C is for overall a core competency. Okay, very fortunately, by God's grace, the core competency which we have, the domain expertise which we have in terms of network or security or data connectivity. AI needs those things. For any kind of AI, you require speed. Speed requires higher data connectivity. For any data center, you require AI security. If you have a AI data center, you require AI security. And obviously, networks are required due to now it is work from anywhere and work anyhow kind of a model runs in most of the organizations. So fortunately, our core competency has remained intact. AI, of course, we can't sit on our laurels, but so far we have seen that AI can lead to our growth instead of being harmful to our growth because of our core competency by God's grace. And in fact, Fortinet CEO has said that the edge will eat the cloud. That's what he said in Fortinet Accelerator program held in Las Vegas on 10th of March this year. 10th of March, that edge will eat the cloud, which means whoever is into WAN edge, and we are into WAN edge, their requirements will be, they will be getting more and more requirements because of certain reasons. I'm not going into the right and wrong part of it, but according to them, whatever we are doing as core competency, it is good. Because the technology is changing so fast. You remember Moore's law, right? Moore's law said technology changes every what 2 years, he said, and then it came to 18 months and all that. But now I'll give you some examples later on. Now technology is changing every month. So imagine if something is changing every month, how can your BE or a BTech or a BSc IT is going to be valuable? Because it is not covered only in your curriculum. Before you do you pass out for namesake, but still you will not be able to grasp what is happening in the outside world because the world has completely changed in those 4 years. Very long time. So graduations are not going to work, but what is going to work, I can tell you for sure, is certifications. Okay. Again, in our feelings, the certification part was very much there. I'm proud we have good certifications done by people. Fortinet has FCA, FCP, and FCSS, which is P is for professional, A is for architect, and S is for specialist. So I'm of a clear opinion that certifications will hold more value than your graduation itself. We are also trying to do GRC on our own. Okay. We have done ISO 27001 2013. And when the new certificate came, ISO 27001 2022, we have done that also. And now I feel, apart from whatever 27001 gives, an organization requires something more. So we have also started the journey towards GRC certification, which will be done through HR. So in turn, within a quarter or two, AIPL will be properly complied for any other organizations for information security, for cyber security, for governance, which will also include AI governance at a later date. It will include risk management, and it will include compliance management. So the core part also, the C part also is taking care of a lot of things. Then I come to the T part. Now this is not new to Gary because I have seen him working, so he is not going to be interested in that. He बोलेगा ये तो होना ही चाहिए. T is having a 24/7 mental makeup. Okay. AIPL took pride in the fact that we are in Mumbai and 40% of India's business moves around Mumbai or Maharashtra, etc. And most of the people are registered here. Many IT BFSI is here, but that is no longer the case. We need to have, we need to have, or we rather need to go wherever the customer is. We can't tell that if the customer is not in Mumbai, we are not going to serve them. If the customer is in UK, we have to serve them. If the customer is in US, we have to serve them. So when we do that, our working hours are going to change, or our working style is going to change. We will have to for sure be accommodative towards that. There is no choice. Of course, we can have a proper package done so that nobody works more than 9 hours or whatever. But more or less, working hours could be very, very flexible and going here and there depending on the kind of contracts we have with customers. So that was the C part, T part of it, 24/7. And the last part, yes, I guess S. Okay. S stands for speed. Speed is something which I don't know. I can only define you through two stories. And they are true stories. They are two stories and they are true stories. Has anybody heard about a company called Wiz? WIZ? Anybody? Okay. So Google has taken over Wiz on, I think, 10 days back. Right. I think 10th of March. So little more than 10 days. 10 days back. And they have paid $32 billion in cash. Okay. I did that calculator thing. It comes to 3 lakh crores. 3 lakh crores. And please listen to this seriously. I was wondering how a company can get 3 lakh crores. What does this company do? So they are into AI security platforms. Okay. But what was important is not only what money got paid to them, 32 billion. What took me completely by surprise was that company was formed on 1st January 2020. Which is only 6 months. Whenever I talk about age, you get a figure like 6 years, 2 months, and 10 days or something like that. Can you imagine? If in 6 years a company can be valued at 32 billion, by that stand, all of you are already old and I am ancient. I should be found only in the zoo or in the history books, but not sitting here as a MD. If this is the pace of change, that's why I'm telling you, please take it seriously. Because if this is the pace is going to be, nothing is going to nothing is going to work with what we were traditionally taught. Everything will have to do with speed, and speed is what will matter in making you successful or otherwise. The second example is even more shocking. How many of you have heard about Motobook? No? Okay. So Motobook is a company which which was incorporated in January of this year. January of this year. Trust me. And they were taken over by another company which calls itself, previously called itself with a suffix book. Which company is that? Facebook. Okay. They were taken over by Facebook in less than 60 days. Yeah, less than 60 days. So I was wondering, why will anybody buy a company in 60 days? What is so valuable the company is doing? When I went into details, I found that that company has a AI social platform which is not for human beings, it is for AI agents. Their AI agents can come on those platforms and interact, exchange ideas, etc. What Facebook was there, the same idea they got up for AI agents. So it's so amazing, like the speed at which the world is changing. And if we don't keep the speed, so before concluding on speed, I have one liner which I'll tell you last. But speed is equally essential. So just to conclude, in AIPL, we have thought well about AI, how AI should be of our benefit. We have three clear steps. I'm going to follow a three-step journey, maybe a period of 3 years, but now 3 years, 2 years has no value. Whatever you can plan for, whatever, and then you might have to overnight change your statement. But the steps are very clear. We are first going to be AI literate, which is AI literacy, which is what today we are completing. From there, we are moving to AI adoption. And from there, we are moving to AI absorption. So AI literacy, AI adoption, and AI absorption. And these three, being in business does not mean we have to do something chalo karna hai to karte hai types. That's not possible. When you're in business, you have to do something with a certain clear commercial output. So that output we have decided is that anything we touch in AI, it either has to save time or save money or earn money for us. So three steps this side and three progresses this side. Either they have to save time, save money, or earn money. Anything new we will take in AI, we'll ask ourselves this question. If I'm not there, always remember this. Ask yourself this question. This particular part of AI, is it saving money or saving time or earning money for me? If the answer is no, don't embrace it. It's going to be a lot of things, lot of waste of time. Do you know something? You must have all heard about metaverse, right? And what thrilled us about, if you have parents who have departed, or if you have your granny or grandfather, grandmother who is no longer in the world, but you want them to be present for your wedding. That is possible through metaverse. You will get a real good feel. And what happened to metaverse? Yesterday, metaverse has decided they're officially closing that division. Okay? So it's not that all concepts work. Some concepts are bound to fail also. But again, the same thing, your financial strength has to be there. We are going to be, we are not going to be a person dependent. We are going to be people dependent. Yes, people are required, but a particular person may or may not be required for a particular project, or especially this AI progression. Okay. But speed is what you remember is going to be very important. And there is nothing new in that. Eckhart Tolle, who wrote Power of Now, has told us 30 years back, in 96, he wrote Power of Now, I think. In Power of Now, he has clearly said that whatever happens, it happens in this moment. Nothing has ever happened in the past, and nothing can ever happen in the future. It's only in your mind which is going round and round thinking about past or thinking about future. Whatever happens, it happens in this moment. It's called as present moment awareness. But he is a spiritual leader, so as usual, nobody listened to him. But now, when we talk about when we are breaking hours into minutes and minutes into seconds and seconds into probably nanoseconds for performing an activity, the live moment to moment adage definitely is going to come true. So the speed is going to be of essence. And in my mind, I already made up my mind with this particular line is that EOD is RIP.
Now, before I get start that, why suddenly this AI has become so popular? Do you have answer to this? I mean, what, maybe about 3 years back, it wasn't so popular. Okay. What you see today is, I think, almost every industry, without exception, has something to, or the other to offer in AI. Okay. And it's not just the organization itself, but in the boardrooms, in the informal meetings, in the get togethers, when the MDs of organizations meet, they feel left out if they don't talk about AI. Okay? So AI is reshaping the industry today. Uh, do you know what is the fastest adoption of technology? Any guesses? Which was one technology which was adopted fastest? Yeah, you are talking about mobile, right? Internet, mobile. They were not fastest. They grew. They grew at an enormous pace, but not fastest. The real fast adoption was digital currency in India. The COVID came, and without giving any warning, digital currency was introduced. And within a span of 2 years, in 22, we had close to something like 10 million transactions a day. That was fastest adoption of technology. Today, AI is creating those kind of waves. It's the fastest adoption today. And obviously, the leadership in this space will depend on how fast you adopt AI. Okay? Therefore, in our own interest, in the interest of our organization, in the interest of our own careers, and in the interest of our customers, it is important that we quickly get on this cycle. However, while doing this, we need to have a structured approach. Later on, I'll talk about it, but what I have seen is in all the AI initiatives that have happened across the world, the success rate is a dismal 26%. Okay. Maximum success rate that we have seen in implementation is about 38, 39%. Okay. Which means 60% of the AI projects are failing. Okay. Do you hear something similar that happened ages back when ERP was first introduced and everybody was talking about SAP, Oracle, and so on? And what was the success rate there? Probably something similar. So we are witnessing a similar thing being enacted again. Now, why is it that the success rate is only between 26 to 39%? The reason for that is most of the organizations, when they talk about AI, they only talk about tools. Should we use Gemini? Should we use Chat GPT? Should we use DeepSeek? What is it that we should use? I think that's a completely wrong approach. The second thing that really hampers the implementation is the outcomes. We don't really define the outcomes clearly. So if we are taking an initiative, what is going to be the outcome of this initiative? Okay, like he defined 3 parameters. Okay. Reduction in cost, increase in revenue, and what was the third one?
Earn money,
Earn.
save money,
Okay.
save money,
Reduction in cost or
or save
increase
time.
in revenue. Okay. Finally, boils down to that. So these are very broad level objectives. But when you and me have to implement AI, we have to break this down furthermore and see within our area what should be the outcome of a particular initiative. One of the most important things in AI, they say, is piloting it. Okay. Now, piloting is something not a new concept. It has been there all along, but it has gained importance in AI. Okay. However, what we have seen, what I have personally seen, is these pilots are completely not connected with the corporate goal. Okay. So you have a pilot in something, and then it doesn't match with your corporate goals. So I can give you an example. An example is one organization in USA who is quite famous in clothing. They wanted to implement AI, and the first thing they started is let's take some low-hanging fruits. So what they did was they said, let's automate emails so that emails are standardized by AI. What used to, okay, that organization has got a lot of Indian workforce. So what used to happen is when they used to send out emails, the language was typically Indian. So they said, let's use AI to see that the emails are sent properly. That was implemented, people were happy, but over a period of time that died down because that had no real impact on the business. It was just one thing that had to be done and it was done. Therefore, whenever you take up a project, keeping the broad guidelines which Girish had mentioned, we have to look at our own area and define our own success factors. So next is, what is the journey looking like in AI implementation? So first and foremost is literacy. And I think we have crossed that stage. I think all of you have a good idea about concepts, about the data, the need to have data. I hope that has been explained to you clearly, and need to have the right kind of data. Okay, that's also equally important. And what are the risks involved in implementing something in AI? Those also have to be made very clear. And if you know all this, you are already AI literate. And Harsh tells me he has shared a lot of videos with you. You have answered some questions and he has evaluated them. So I think all that is done. Now the next thing is adoption. Now, how do you adopt AI in the organization? Is first you identify a pilot within your own area. Okay. What is it that you want to experiment with? So identify that pilot. However, while you are identifying that pilot, certain things should be kept in mind. First and foremost is what Girish said, increasing revenue, reduction in cost. Okay. The second thing is it integrating with the data sitting within the organization? Do you understand what I'm saying? It should integrate quite well with the data sitting in an organization. So I'll give you an example. Let's say I want to implement AI for, let's take your case, lead generation. For lead generation, what is the data you have within the organization? Okay. So when you are taking up an AI initiative, not only the external data sources, not only the tools data, but also the data within your own organization. How these two things can integrate and how these two things integrated will be able to give you good results. Okay? That's what you have to see. And only if you are able to certify that, yes, this pilot that we are talking about can take help of external tools, their data and internal data, only then go for it. Otherwise, again, it will be a case like an email. Okay. the next thing that one needs to do is AI absorption. Okay. Now, what is AI absorption? You have done the pilot. Assuming your pilot is successful, you have to take it to the next level. How do you involve more and more people within this framework which you have developed? Okay. So, how do you interact with other products within your organization? How do you interact with other services within your organization so that it helps you in your daily decision making tasks? Once you are able to do that, and once you are able to socialize it across the organization, that will be the time when we will say that, yes, now you are at a stage where you have absorbed this AI technology. The most important thing is a cross check. Initially, at the time of adoption, you had set certain objectives. Okay? So, at the end of this journey, have those objectives been met? Okay? It should not so happen that the objectives were stated, they were always at the back of your mind. You started your implementation journey, you did a pilot, the pilot was highly successful, then you rolled it out across the organization. But somewhere while doing this, the original objectives were not met. So the outcome is most important in all this. In fact, I have seen certain organizations where they started exactly the same way. They set outcomes that these should be the outcomes of this journey. And then they started the journey. And by the time they finished this journey, they realized that the outcomes have changed. The outcomes are not met. You will not believe this organization scrapped almost 6 months of efforts. They said, no, we are not going to implement it any further. We are not going to spend any penny on this. And they started with something else all over again. So I was reminded of this when Girish talked about a double-edged sword, right? On one hand, it will do well if you implement it properly, keeping in mind the outcome. But on the other hand, if you don't do that, 6 months of wasted efforts of I don't know how many people, I don't know subscription to how many tools. I mean, it's not just the amount of money that is wasted. It is the amount of manpower, the amount of extra hours that's wasted. And those hours could have been utilized for something else. So these are the things that you need to look at. Okay. Now, if I have to take your organization, could you come up with certain use cases in your organization? But before you do that, let me give you just 2 use cases, and then you can probably talk about some of the use cases in your organization. So first and foremost is obviously Subodh for you. You get a lot of data from various organizations, the network related data, server related data. Now, are you clearly able to establish a pattern, a seasonality, correlate that data with external data that's available already? Okay? And then come up with a predictive model saying that during, let's say, March 15th to March 30th, sorry, wrong time, December 15th to December 31st, Discount Tires has so many tickets of this kind, and there is a peak in that tickets. Okay. Why is it so? We don't know. Could you go into the details, do a more detailed analysis, and then do a prediction? Is it a monthly phenomena? Is it a quarterly phenomena? Is it a yearly phenomena? And then if you are able to do this, then how can you allocate more resources of those kind to address those problems of discount tire? The next step, which is again something that you have to look at, is how many of these can be fixed automatically. So there is a provision in AI where you can look at a problem and generate a solution on its own. So whenever that problem is encountered with any of the customers, you already know what the solution is, and the solution can be triggered by the system itself. So it's something called a self-healing thing. Your people don't have to get involved. They can get involved in something more, I would say, useful, more productive. And what could be more productive than this is keeping on looking for some patterns, keeping on looking for solutions which can be implemented so that you become more and more close to 100% uptime. Okay. So this is one use case which you can easily implement within your organization. The other thing is obviously, Darshana, for you to look at is, I'm sure there are a lot of visits on the website. Do you really do a detailed analysis of who visits your website? Are they serious customers? Do you need to follow up with them? Probably not. Okay. You have tools available in AI where you can always pick up this data, and based on your past history, I know today you don't have a past history, but you'll have to build it over a period of time. Use that past history to understand whether these visitors are having a serious look or they are just casual visitors. Okay. And once you have that data, and such data is available for various websites in these tools. So marry these two data sets, and then you will be able to generate a lot of meaningful leads from this system. And what will be your effort? Practically negligible. So at the beginning of every day, it will give you the visits to your website. Okay. And how many of them are meaningful visits? And therefore, what you need to follow up. How many of them you need to contact. That's one part. And then all this data goes into your CRM. Nikita tells me you have implemented CRM recently, right? So all this data gets into your CRM. Your CRM becomes more robust. Your data analytical skills become most robust. And you will have a better near 100% hit for lead generation. Now, similarly, talking to you, Chanda, you have a CRM and you know how orders are getting closed. Okay. Is there a pattern that you see during closure?
Yeah, there is a pattern.
There is a pattern. I know there is a pattern. But then what you need to look at is see that pattern and see what are your prospect list. And is that pattern appearing in any of your prospect list? And then you will have a much better closure, since you know that this prospect is similar to my database. This was what we had done. You repeat it, and I'm sure you will get a much better chance of success. So that is as far as closure is concerned. One thing which is bothering me, especially in AIPL, and I have been talking about it with Girish, is your quality of your proposals. Okay. Now, even your proposals can get into your CRM. Okay. Maybe they should be ideal proposals. And whenever you have that kind of a requirement, a proposal can be directly generated by the AI. Absolutely. Okay. Instead of you wasting your time in generating those proposals. So maybe whatever you used to spend half an hour, at least that half an hour is saved. And then you can look at that half an hour, utilize that half an hour somewhere else. Okay. So I have talked about 3 or 4 use cases. What I would seriously want all of you to do is in your own, in fact, accounts for that matter. It's not that it's only applicable to service or sales. It is equally applicable to accounts. Look at certain things like this and see what is a use case that you can use to implement AI. HR is exactly identical. In HR, when you do recruitment, what is your hit rate? what kind of candidates are likely to show up after accepting the offer. Because I don't know whether you are aware, in India, it is very common that you take 5 offers, evaluate them, and then select only one of them and don't show up in the other places.
No show for other four.
Okay, so I'm sure you know what I mean this. So you can actually see a pattern from the databases, from the candidate's CV, so that your efforts, in fact, if you see that pattern, you don't even have to call shortlist that CV. He may be extremely good. He might be the best candidate, but you know he's not going to show up. Why then worry? So those kind of things you can implement in your own area. So my point is, when you start your journey from now on, we have just reached the first stage of AI literacy. Next stage will be AI adoption. So you have to look at a pilot. Okay? So this pilot should satisfy certain criteria. First criteria is this pilot going to meet the organizational objectives which our MD has clearly stated? If yes, it's a tick in the box. The next thing is it utilizing our internal data? If yes, a second tick in the box. The third thing is it likely to give you efficiency improvements? If yes, a tick in the box. So keep on shortlisting this and come up with a use case which you can use. Once you have identified a use case, that's not the end of it. The next thing that you have to do is you have to look at the tools that you will use to implement AI. Again, the tools that Chanda might use might be completely different from a tool that a HR might use. But look at the tools that you have to use, and somewhere you need to have an organizational view as well. I cannot have 100 different tools being used in one organization. Somewhere you will have to limit it to maybe 2, 3, but look at that. Can we repeat those tools? Once all this is done, you clearly identify the outcomes. What are the outcomes of this initiative? In fact, the organization where I was closely associated and which chucked out that email thing, there we have clearly mentioned that the objectives have to, there has to be a paper which has to be presented to the board. Board meaning not the management board, but there is an AI board that they have constituted. I think that's something
that
important.
We can also do.
Yeah. So they have an AI board which they have constituted, and a paper is presented to AI board. And the champion of this paper explains all this to the board. And then the board asks him, probing questions. And once it is cleared, only then it gets implemented. So if you think it is right, maybe we should follow that as well. So what should it contain? It should contain the concept of the use case. How are you going to implement it? What is the expected amount of time it is likely to take? Okay. What internal data you will be utilizing? Which tool you are likely to use? Okay. And what are likely to be the outcomes of this exercise? So if you are able to address these 6 points and present it to your internal committee, then the committee can take an informed decision whether to go ahead or not. Okay. So the other thing is, in your case, this is really not relevant, is when we are doing all this, are you keeping your leadership informed? What I have seen again happening is, at a C level, people are aware, but at a higher level, people are just not aware as to what is happening in the organization. And then there is obviously a disconnect. So when they ask for an additional funding. Okay, so assume pilot has gone well, you have implemented it well. Now comes the real test, right? You have to ask for funding, at least some funding, to implement it across the organization. And since the actual decision makers are not informed, the chances of you getting that funding become remote. Okay, so AI committee is one, but the organizational head, is he adequately informed? That's something one has to take care. Now, in your case, he is anyway involved in day-to-day affairs, so it will not be so much of an issue. Now, what is the advantage of doing all of this? So you have done AI literacy, you have done AI absorption, you have done a pilot, and then from a pilot, you went into adoption. Okay. Now, the objective of all this is when your decision making happens. Today, what happens is most of your decisions are intuition based. They are intuitive decisions. ये हो सकता है, ऐसा हुआ होगा शायद. Okay? So all those intuitions are taken out and it becomes solid fact driven decisions. So that's something which is critically important. So to summarize this, don't just think about technology. Okay? Think about outcomes. What are going to be the outcomes? I mean, in good old days, we used to talk about this ERP, that ERP, or current, I mean, some few years back, we used to talk about should it be Java, should it be .NET, whatever. Okay? Should it be PHP? Now we are not talking about that anymore. We are talking about this solution. What is it? What is the outcome it is going to give you? Okay. Once you know the outcome, the choice of technology becomes automatic. I mean, you don't have to really spend time in selecting the technology. Similarly, look at the solution and not the tools. If your solution is clearly identified, okay, I want this data, I want our entire pilot to integrate with this backend data which is available within our organization. So once you know these, the tools are quite clear. I mean, you know, this tool is capable of integrating with my data or not. And don't experiment with AI. My earnest request is don't do any experimentation. You follow these logical rules, there is 100% assurance of success. So look at the impact and not the experimentation, not the intuition. ये हो सकता है, ये करें क्या? No. Present those facts. If everybody agrees, everybody is on board, especially the AI committee which we are going to form, then go ahead and do it. Okay. So again, just to translate what Girish had said, literacy amounts to understanding of AI. The language becomes common across the organization. So just to give you a simile, when somebody is managing servers or somebody is managing networks, this, I mean, they say very quickly, ये L1 ticket hai. Okay. People in accounts may or may not know what L1 ticket means, but you guys know what L1 means. Okay. So similarly, you develop a colloquial language within your organization for this kind of a product. Okay. So have we developed that common language across the organization? If we have, then the entire organization is AI literate. Okay. So when Girish talks to any of you, you should be talking about the same syntax, semantics, and verbs. It should not be different. Okay. When we talk about adoption, one of the most important things, I talked about a lot of things in selecting a pilot, but the most important thing is it easy to implement and can it be implemented quickly? Okay. If a pilot is going to take 6 months for you to implement, then it loses its relevance. Okay. Can we have quick wins rather than an elongated process? So if you have those quick wins, then the chances of success are much better. And lastly, when we talk about absorption, we are talking about organization transformation. Okay. So we are transforming the organization from an old methodology to a new methodology. So basically, you had given me 10 minutes. I think I have. So to summarize, AI is not a journey. It is a journey and it's not a destination. I mean, we've reached there. Now we are done. Abhi aaram karte hain. That's not it. It's a continuous process. It's a journey. Okay. Start with literacy to build understanding. It is again not a one-time thing that I have seen a video, I have answered some questions. Now I am AI literate. No, that's not it. Okay. Build a deep understanding of AI. Okay. Then scale with adoption through pilots. And pilots should have all those criteria which I spoke about.
We talk about AI. I will try to talk about what is going on in the US on AI. So that will give a different perspective. And then I will try to address, but this is one of the big questions we are addressing there, but it came out in his speech. So I want to address that. The thing is, don't resist AI. Don't resist. How do you convert the organization to pervasively adopt AI, not selectively? Okay, so we'll talk about that. It's going to be more of a Q&A. I'm going to ask you, why are you resisting? If you're resisting, what is your concern, right? I'm going to try and address it, okay? Because this is our biggest problem in US, right? People resisting, people being very conscious. You know, it's going to take their jobs away. What's going to happen to me? Am I going to be able to? So let's try to get through that if we can, okay? So first of all, AI, right, where it is, right? You know, I've been around the business for a long time. We have seen technologies come in. Technology, like I said, right, change, right, from mainframe, COBOL, PCs, servers, others. Some work, some don't. Blockchain, heard of blockchain? Flop. It did not deliver the value it was supposed to deliver. There are many others, okay, which don't deliver the value, okay? There are other things that deliver value but take time. They fail for the first time, come back up. For example, web, right? Internet, 2001, right? The whole thing went down. Early adopters, right? They all lost money. So, but it came back, right? Came back because it was way ahead of its time. So now every technology you have to be very careful. You have to bet with the winners, okay? If you bet with the losers, you're going to lose. You have to bet with the winners. I feel that AI is a winning technology. It's like a killer app. Email, killer app, right? AI is going to be there next 30, 40 years. And it really is something that is going to work. This is not a fad. Absolutely not. It is going to be there for 30, 40 years. Now, the investment that is being done, like the investment that was being done in the web in 2001, I don't know how many of you folks were here, but it was really bad. A lot of people invested a lot in the stock market, a lot of money in, and it went one, boom, right? So first of all, you have to be very careful how we are investing in AI, who's investing, how much money and where it is going, and is it going to fall and how much is it going to fall. So there is going to be some course corrections because there is a lot of overinvestment in data centers. A lot of money is going into the data centers. A lot of things are, and they're all interchanged, right? They're all incestual relationships between Microsoft and data providers. And, you give me this, I'll give you that. And they just inflate it like the doctor mafia, You come to me for a heart problem. I say, no, 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 you got to take your blood check. No, blah, blah. I think you got to go to the X-ray. No, 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 no. It's like ghumate hai na. Same thing over there. Okay. One is selling chip, other selling software, other selling this. And then all, it's like a bubble. Some of it will come down, like the web. We don't know who will be the winners and losers. But it will come down a little bit, but we just have to be careful and stay with the winners. Okay. Today, if you look at the models of now, like ChatGPT, right? There are 4 or 5 that will come into play. Abhi, ChatGPT was the number 1, right? But others have come in, and it's not going to be a number 1 game. You have a ChatGPT ka model hai na, okay, for certain things. Clarion, Claude will be more. They're very good. They're going to be for the enterprise. Okay, ChatGPT is not really enterprise. Claude will be enterprise. Gemini, which is the Google model, right? That is going to be more consumer based. Okay, Apple is slamily coming with their own. Okay, so they are going to be big because they have the phone market now, lock market. So there will be 4 or 5 in the market that will be special purpose and pay that. Everybody will have a 20% market share. So things are changing over there. Now, how is AI benefiting in the US? Okay, there are 3 main places where AI is being used today. Okay, one is personal productivity. Personal productivity. Okay, you have to find application personal productivity, which is things like Copilot. Has anybody heard Copilot? Has anybody used Copilot? Who's using Copilot? You're using Copilot? Okay, I use Copilot every day. Every day. Not a single email from my inbox leaves my inbox to my teams or my bosses or my peers without it first passing through Copilot. It doesn't do, because I'm pretty good at written skills. I'm really good. But I do my email and then I have Copilot rewrite it. And the difference is 10 times better. Not 1 and 2 times, it's 10 times better. Okay. Personal productivity, and it makes people feel really good. Is that getting all that data and putting all that RFPs? I made an RFP. I'm an IT guy. I made an RFP for about business to supply tires to AT&T. And I went to ChatGPT and I created it. So I went in, I'm service businesses and that. It looked at all at our facility. We had 1,200 facilities. It looked at all that on ChatGPT. It knows. It looked at all AT&T's fleets, how many cars they have, how many trucks they have, all that. Put all together. Looked at our pricing thing and put the whole RFP together to service their cars. And I took that to my business guy and said, hey, I was talking to AT&T on telecom, but by the way, I gave them this offer. And he goes, how did you make this? I go, how did you make this? Why did you give them? Why did you give them? Not your life. Why did you give them? I think, how did you make it? And then one guy figured out he did it on ChatGPT. I mean, it's impossible for a person in my profession to make a RFP for a fleet business for AT&T and discount. I know nothing, right? That's the kind of power AI has. Okay, so it's coming, folks. And then the third one area that is really that we get beat up on, and you guys will for sure, and because you're in the telecom business. And I was just with the company Capgemini, and they were telling me, they showed me a lot of stuff on AI. But how AI will bring productivity to coding. Okay, coding in applications and coding in telecom. Okay, and they literally, I was at Capgemini and they showed me all the stuff that is currently done manually through observability, as you call it, right? Yeah. All that observability they have covered and used AI to build tools and self-correct. Okay, it's all there. We can see it. You say, okay, here's this circuit from here to here. Press the button. It plots it. It shows all routes. It says, oh, there's a router that is down. It goes and corrects it. All self-correcting, right? All AI stuff. That's there. And then coding, right? You've got this big ERP. We talked about ERP software, right? Talked about Oracle, SAP, that we took years and years. I was an expert at that. That's what I did. Today, for mid-market, not the big ones, but the mid-market company, in a couple of weeks, you can use code generators to generate major modules of ERP for mid-market companies. Okay. So in our choices in the olden days was, hey, buy the package, implement the package. We did it for 20 years. 20 years we did that. And I'm expert at that. That is what I did. But today, if I was to get a new mid-market company, $1 billion, $2 billion company, I wouldn't buy a ERP pack. I can custom code it. Okay, that option is now opened up, which was never there. It was there 40 years ago when there were no packages. When I did that, then I wrote that stuff. Then the packages came, we did that. And now it's more economical, or it's more better to make a custom software. Okay, better to make a custom software to fit your business exactly using code generators and AI. You can do it in weeks. Okay, so the whole thing is shifting because of AI. This is going to shift. The shift is massive. It's coming, but opportunities for companies like yours are absolutely tremendous. Tremendous. Just tremendous opportunity, because 80% of the processing in the US, 80%, not 10%, 20, 80% of the payment. So that, guess where it is done? Still on the mainframes, COBOL, that kind of systems. Now is the opportunity to take all that, use AI to move it to much mobile thing. You remember the days of Y2K? I don't know if anybody was born, 2000, thing, right? Y2K, a lot of companies in India made a lot of money. Lots and lots of money. And that's where this whole migration to US started. Really, in 1997, 1998, I was 97, 96, 97, it started, right? US people started realizing, oh, this Y2K is going to be a problem. We don't have enough labor force. So hundreds of thousands of Indians we took from here, we moved over there to work on the Y2K. And they're still there. They're not working quite there. So that was a great opportunity. Okay. The next opportunity is coming. Okay. It is to take AI and replace this custom code. 80%, yeah, that's a big one. To replace that. It's not, even with the code and the generators, it's not going to be replaced in a day. Okay. You could probably take the code and probably take that whole code of America and probably rewrite it in a day. But what? Implementing systems, it's not just about code generation, right? It's about working with the people. It's understanding the requirements. It's saying, oh, Nikita, you're so nice. Although you say, oh, because she has to use the code and you have to sell it to her. Even if it's the same code, she's going to say, no, I'm used to my code. So all that stuff, right? That takes even more time. That's why it won't be done in a day, but the next 20 years are yours, right? If you capitalize on AI. So I would say, building raw capability, right? Raw capability in AI development. Those companies that do that, there's absolutely no way they will fail. You've got to be agile and you've got to build that capability. You'll be able to sell that capability very fast as this market takes up. The time is now. The time is now to get on it. So I really like the vision he has placed in front of you. I think, for telecom, obviously, it's very important. Application development, this thing is going to take off a lot more money to be made than what people made in Y2K, if you play it right. So best of luck to you. And if there are any other questions I can answer for you, I'm happy to do so. Okay, we'll talk about that. So yeah, the AI will take people's jobs in certain places. Okay. So for example, automation, right? Automation you have. So our business, is changing tires and changing wipers. So with AI and automation, what has happened is there have been electric cars. You have heard no electric cars. So electric cars, the tire change actually occurs faster. In normal car, IC engine car, the tires have to be changed every 30,000 miles. 30,000 miles, you have to change the car, the tire is going to get. With electric car, it's much heavier than a IC car. You have to change the tire every 15,000 miles. So our business of tire change is automatically doubled.
Yeah.
So you think AI automation, okay, business to double, okay, right there, nothing. But then other things go away. So with the electric car, there's also automation. So you have driverless cars. Have you seen that? You have not seen it, but it's there in Phoenix. The 300 cars, there's no driver. There's only steering wheel. There's nobody in there. It's just going. And you're sitting in the taxi. I don't sit. I'm too scared, but a lot of people sit. And it's happening. So when you look at that car, right, that good job of the driver is gone. Okay. What job do you have now? That driver seat is being replaced with a refrigerator with a fridge in it. Uske andar, you have to stock beer or Pepsi. That is the job that is left for the human. Right? The driving job is gone, but it is like a taxi now. It is driving people and everybody is taking Coke from it, right? Now you have to fill up that Coke and you cannot, it's not so easy to forecast how many passengers are going to drink how many Coke. It's not easy. So you have to have electronic systems that will, in that fridge, and there are fridges, I don't think they're here too. In the US, all the fridges, they have electronic ordering systems, right? It can tell you, okay, your cauliflower is gone, this is gone, replace, right? That same technology now you're going to put in the fridge in the car to say, okay, how many Cokes are there now? Because it has to, as soon as it's done, it has to drive to our clearing station where we fill gas. Now no gas, now we fill Coke and the car goes back. Because if there is no Coke in that car, the customer is going to be very disappointed. They're sitting there, I'm going to the airport, I open the fridge, there's no Coke. Right? You are going to get very upset, very angry customer if the Coke or Pepsi or beer, whatever they drink, is not there in the drink. So that's what they're doing, right? They're reading newspaper and it's not there. And you say, hey, what is this? But to keep it filled is not so easy. That's right. But those jobs will change, right? Wiper changing will still be there, but it's not as lucrative as changing tires. Tires changing will be there. So jobs will change. But the whole thing is it's humans working with the machines, right? And you have to always now, these are things I told people, they don't like it. But again, as we go now, and maybe it's your time or it's not my time for sure, but maybe your children's time, okay? You have to integrate, you have to work with the machines. And you're not going to like this, but it's going to happen. You have to integrate with the machines, which means there will be a time when you will have a Google chip in your head connected to your brain. Okay. So, Abhi, what is the worst thing right now? What Musk is working on, right? Your brain works very, very fast. Okay. Much faster than you can ever imagine. The computer works very, very fast. Okay. Where is the slow point? The slow point is from your brain communicating to the computer. And how does that happen? It happens like this. 99% of the lead time is here, going from here to there through this. If you connect it directly here, game is over. Okay. So they will come with a chip, like a Google chip. Google like what is this? What is that? Answer karta hai. It will integrate right into your brain. Yes, so ask me any question, we'll be able to answer. Probably not in my lifetime, but maybe but it will. They're working on it. It will happen, and then you just you will integrate with the machine. People will say Gary, but that's not your personality. I say, no, my name was not Gary, also, right? My name was Girish, but you have to change. Yeah, I'm sorry if you're not going to change, and if you're going to resist the whole thing, right? You're going to resist the change, you're going to be left behind. Now, which change do you take and which do you not take? There are certain things you'll say, you know what, not doing. The money is not worth it. The pleasure is not worth it. I'm not doing it. Like a change for my example, right? Most of my people who went there, they changed their accent. How are you showing? I will speak in my accent. I try to speak clearly and reasonably clear, but I'm not changing my accent. I will change my name. Why do I change my name? Because it's easier for them to say. Right? If you say Girish now, nobody's going to call you. They are not going to call you. You want to get a sales call? They're not going to call. They're going to call Gary. Not calling Girish. First, the easy person, people want easy. Yeah. People want easy. You want to sell yourself, you have to be easily accessible. If you're not going to be easily accessible, you're not going to be caught. Right? Easier to बुलाएंगे नहीं. So at some point you have to integrate with the machine because the machine is going to get smarter and smarter. Today, Google chip can think much faster and has much more data than probably in your brain, but you can't exercise your brain that fast, right? लेकिन वो अगर integrate कर दिया तो सोच ना, मम्मी कुछ भी question पूछे तेरे answer, you will have the answer. But she will, unfortunately, she will also have a
So it will be machine to machine and not
and with quantum computing. अभी तो AI है, अभी तो झलक भी नहीं देखी आपने. Wait for quantum computing. Can new chip. Google has made a new chip. Google. It is in production right now. 2 years in production. They're not selling it. They're not selling it to anybody. But if you really wanted to experiment, you can rent space in data centers for it, but you have to have special permission and you have to have special applications. So otherwise they will not give you. Otherwise they'll give you like massive parallel processing. But if you want to use on the quantum chip, quantum computing you have, it is massively powerful, like nobody has ever seen. There is a thing called the butterfly effect. What is the butterfly effect? So butterfly flaps its wing in China. It can cause a tornado in Texas. That is called as the butterfly effect. And to simulate that butterfly effect is not so easy. But this quantum chip can simulate that butterfly effect. That bad. For example, once the quantum chips comes into production, passwords are not going to work. No more passwords. It will not work because it will simulate every password within seconds. Kuch bhi password chip, I will be able to tell your password. All the passwords, all the security, sab chala jayega with quantum process. It will process like this. Anything. Face recognition, you talk of face recognition, there is nothing. You know what it is? Face then transports into a password at the back end. You have to recognize is to just got to break the password. Lots of things coming, lots of fun things coming. You're young, should be successful, and you have a great MD. So another hand for Mr.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Gary. That was wonderful. Thank you, guys.